Well, the idea of doing a book like that is something that I wanted to do basically my whole adult life because I took a real interest in the history of wrestling and the business and just wanting to learn as much about it as I could. And everybody kept telling me I should write a book about the history of wrestling. So, I always had it in the back of my head, and even when I worked at WWE, I did. But I had a friend of mine named Mike Edison who was also a huge wrestling fan and a
Mm-hmm.
former wrestling magazine guy. And he was working as an editor for this publishing company, Hal Leonard. And they had just started doing a series called FAQ, which was, like I said, all different pop culture.
Yeah, topics.
And they wanted to do a wrestling one. And he said to them, I have exactly the guy in mind to write this book. And he got in touch with me. And I'm so
Mm-hmm.
grateful to him for that. And he reached out to me because he knew me. We had a lot of the same friends. And he said, listen, you were born to write this book. You have to do it. And I did. I just jumped right into it. That was like 2014. 2014 is when I first got
Okay.
the offer and started working on it.
Oh, okay. So we now know that doing those things takes time actually,
Oh,
because
yeah.
from
Well,
2014, yeah.
yeah, I mean, the book came out a few years ago, actually. The book came out in 2015. So, I mean, I worked on it for about a year. And it was, of course, at that time, we didn't have a toddler in the house. We didn't have a baby in the house. And actually, for portions of that time, I was strictly just working on the book and nothing else. So I was able to get it done in a lot less time than it would probably take me now.
Oh, okay, okay. I get that. So it's my bad that I just discovered about this book like yesterday.
No, it's okay because you're not the only one. The thing about it is, because I did the Godzilla book after that one, and the Godzilla book has just been selling like crazy. It's the top
Mhm.
selling Godzilla book in the world right now, according to Amazon. And
Oh,
the wrestling book, Pro Wrestling FAQ, had a bit of a harder time finding an audience. And I was a little
okay.
disappointed because I really put my heart and soul into it. And it's the book that I loved writing the most. But I think the
Yeah.
the thing about wrestling books, and you may know this, is that the best selling wrestling books are always personality driven. So, like a
Mm.
biography of a
Yeah.
wrestler that people love. It's a little bit harder to sell a book that's just about the whole business of wrestling. But I have to say, I'm incredibly proud of it. And for people that want like a complete history of wrestling and a comprehensive book that's everything you want to know about anything about wrestling, I really
Mhm.
think it's the perfect book. And I know that makes me sound like an egomaniac, but I really think it is. I mean, it's the best book out there on that topic.
Thank you for listening. Remember to leave a comment, like, share, subscribe, and spread the word. To make sure we keep our high standard content going, you can support us on Patreon at patreon.com/lmwpodcast by becoming a €5 backer or above. You can find the Last Minute Wrestling Podcast all over the platforms like Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcast, and more. We're also very social, so drop us a line to say hello on Twitter at LMW Podcast and on Facebook at facebook.com/LMW Podcast. I have been Frank Mandolini. Stay safe.